You are Locked On Giants Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me from the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, and today the Giants blew it, man. Out there in Pittsburgh as the bullpen gives up 4 runs in the 9th inning, and the Pirates win 7-6 in extras. Marco Luciano had a costly error in that blow-up inning and showed us all that he still is in fact a rookie and has a ton to improve on the defensive side of his game. Luke Jackson and Camilo Doval did not look sharp for the Giants either, as 2 costly walks in that inning, in that 9th inning, turns into runs for the Pirates. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank you all for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. If you aren't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button right now. And if you're getting us on the Locked On Giants podcast feed, appreciate you tuning in there. However you get in the show, we appreciate it. And make sure to tune into the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Ben does a great job breaking down all the numbers you need to know. And this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Man, we're just going to get right into it in the 9th inning. I mean, we'll go back and retrack some of the good moments for the Giants in this one, but Giants took a 6-2 lead into the 9th inning, and things looked good. I mean, I was getting ready to come on here and talk about how the Giants have now a 5-game win streak and they're hot, and they got, the Pirates the rest of this road trip, and they can go ahead and heat up before they come back home, get even better, and hopefully keep it going as the schedule starts to get a little harder with the Phillies coming back to town once the Giants return to San Francisco. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves now, as the Giants can't even beat the Pirates out there in Pittsburgh. That last inning was terrible, man. And Luke Jackson did not look like the leverage guy that the Giants needed to bring in that situation. They had Randy Rodriguez in the bullpen up with him. I kind of rather would have seen Randy. I mean, he's been pitching pretty well. Luke's been up and down all season long. But there's so many other options in that bullpen. You could have had Eric Miller come in the 7th, and you could have saved Rogers for the 8th and Duvall for the 9th, like the Giants have been doing all season long. But instead, we get Luke Jackson out there, and he looked shaky. I mean, not a great night for him. He put a bunch of runners on base, didn't allow any to score. The Giants then go to Camilo Doval, what had turned into a save situation. And he does allow all those runs that Luke Jackson put on base to score and gives up a few of his own. I mean, it wasn't the best outing for Doval, but the umpire tonight wasn't doing him any favors. Strike 3 was called ball 3, and that batter ended up walking to load the bases with 1 out, and then a ground ball to right field, scored a run. Giants were still leading 6-3 with McCutchen at the plate, but then a ground ball to Marco Luciano should have been an easy double play ball. Wasn't even a weird hop or anything. He just dropped it, man. I mean, that ball hit him right in the glove at about chest high, and he just dropped it. Everybody was safe. Run scores, 6-4 Giants lead, and it was a costly error for the young shortstop who has been playing so well lately. And he even had a couple nice plays in the field earlier in this game. And Dave Fleming was giving him some credit in an earlier play when Luciano fielded a ball, tried to touch second base and then flip one over to first, but right at the last second decided to eat it and not fire over to first base to prevent what could have been a missed throw and maybe an extra base. And Fleming gave him credit. He said that's a smart play for a young fielder who's not, people don't hold his defense up as the reason that this guy is in the big leagues. He's here for his bat, not for his glove. And it cost him today. That ground ball that he couldn't make that play on, it made sure that the inning continued. And he got another ground ball later on in that same 9th inning. That time he did step on the base and get the out, but wasn't able to turn 2. Another run scored on that play, 6-5. Giants lead then with O'Neill Cruz at the plate and runners at the corners, and Cruz absolutely rips a line drive down the right field line. Pirates tie it up at 6 apiece, 121.5 miles an hour off the bat. Again, 121 121.5 miles an hour off the bat, the hardest hit ball of the season, according to StatCast. And that pitch was not a mistake by Doval. I mean, the ball wasn't even a strike. Cruz just went out there and got it. I mean, with those long arms, he can definitely extend outside of the strike zone and barrel up a ball, as you saw in that at bat. And in that inning, there were 2 walks and an error that fueled the Pirates' comeback. And we always say on this show, free 90s are gonna cost you. Every single time that you're giving up free 90s in a baseball game, bad things are gonna happen, at least more often than not. And today, a lot of bad things happened because, not just because of those free 90s, but that certainly didn't help the situation at all. Luke Jackson gave up one of those walks. Doval gave up one of those walks as well. It's the first blown save Camilo Doval has had all season long. He was 8 for 8 coming into tonight, and the bullpen's been cruising, man. This was kind of like a callback to what they looked like at the beginning of the season when they were still trying to figure out who they could go to in these leverage situations. And man, Ryan Walker looked great, but Tyler Rogers was also pretty good. But Luke Jackson and Camilo Doval did not look great. And then Eric Miller comes in the 9th inning, or in the 10th inning, excuse me, after the Giants couldn't get it done in the top of the 10th. Mike Yastrzemski did move the Manfred runner at second base over to third. Lamont Wade Jr. and Pat Bailey both had chances to drive that run in, but Lamont Wade Jr. strikes out, and Pat Bailey, it was his first at bat since coming off the concussion list. That's a very tough situation to come into and expect a guy to produce. He lifted one to center field, but it was caught for the 3rd out of the inning. And then in the bottom of the 10th, as I said, Eric Miller comes in, and on the first pitch of the inning, Nick Gonzalez singles, Manfred runner scores from second base. You guys all know my opinion on that stupid Rob Manfred runner. I hate this extra innings rule so much in baseball, and I know a lot of people complain about games being too long, but I mean, this game was not that long prior to going to extras. I mean, this extra innings game kind of ended in like the same time. It was like a 3-hour long game, even in extras. I mean, if that's too long of a game for you to watch, I don't know what to tell you, man. I love me some baseball. A 3-hour game does not bother me at all. If it went 3.5 in an extra inning game, great. That's fine with me. I hate this Manfred runner on second base. You shouldn't be able to win a game in extra innings off a weak ground ball base hit to right field. Like, that's just doesn't feel right, man. Just doesn't feel right. But the Giants had the same opportunity the Pirates did, and they could not come through. They couldn't do it either. So, I mean, they could have easily scored a run on a weak ground ball to right field as well. So they couldn't get it done. Giants lose 7-6 at PNC Park, 23-26 on the season. Now, I mean, every time this team gets close to 500, they just can't do it, man. They just slide right back down the hill. Pirates also 23-26 now with that win. This is a bummer, man. The Giants hit very well in this one, 9 hits in this one, scored 6 runs. This is the first loss all season long where the Giants scored 5 or more runs. I mean, they were 14-0 coming into this one. Couldn't get it done despite the 4-run lead late in the 9th. And it was the defense and the pitching that really let them down, which is uncharacteristic of what this team has been doing for the first part of this season. But we told you guys on this postcast, I mean, Luciano, I've been saying for a while, I don't want to see him come up unless he forces the Giants' hand to be on the big league roster. And I think it's very evident now, obviously, that this guy still has a lot to work on at shortstop. I mean, he's not a big league shortstop at this time. I mean, I think eventually he turns into a third baseman. He can sit back and learn from Matt Chapman, one of the best defensive third baseman in baseball, and he can learn how to play the position from him. I think Luciano's a little lanky for that position for shortstop, and he's just not super smooth out there, man. Like, he had a couple good plays in this one, but when it was on the line, when the chips were down, when you needed him to make a play, it was a routine ground ball. I'm going to repeat this again. It's not like this ball was scorched off the bat or he got a weird hop or anything, really. This looked like a pretty straightforward, if you want to nitpick, it was kind of a short hop, but he fielded that ball at his chest. His glove is at his chest, and the ball just bounces off it. He just drops it. He tries to recover, can't even pick up the ball cleanly after he drops it. It was bad, man. It looked like a rookie who was rushing to turn 2 and try and get out of a jam instead of just making sure that you get the sure out at second base. And that's what you need in that situation. Just trade outs for runs. It doesn't matter. You only need 3 outs in that inning and you get a win. Rookie mistakes, man, just glaring today, absolutely glaring. Luciano did have a nice day at the plate. Wasn't all sour grapes for him. He did pick up 2 hits, 2 for 4 with a run. His batting average now 375 in his minimal work at the big league level. The bats are there. I mean, we know this from Matos, Ramos, and Luciano. All 3 guys picked up a hit tonight in this one, but defensively, Ramos has been a plus glove. Matos has had some issues. Luciano has had some issues. These are not big league defenders at this point in time. Yes, I know Matos did rob 2 home runs. I did not forget that, but there was also several plays that we sat here saying Jung-Hoo Lee could have got to that ball, and Luis Matos got bad jumps, took bad routes to get there, and couldn't get it done in center field. Ultimately, I don't think that guy is going to be a center fielder. I think he's more of a corner outfielder. Same with Ramos. So, I mean, Matos is kind of, I think, playing out of position, and Luciano, in my opinion, is not a big league third base or second base, shortstop, big league shortstop either, to the same way Matos is not a big league center fielder. These guys can play these positions for a little while, but if you play them there for extended time, you will start to see big flaws in their game. Today, you saw it in Luciano's, and it cost the Giants a win, point blank. Without that error, Giants win. Giants probably also win without those 2 walks. And I should say the strike zone tonight was absolutely atrocious. We kind of talked about it on that Camilo Doval sequence against Triolo, who was the batter that he should have struck out. It should have been called strike 3. Instead, it's called ball 3. And he ended up walking. He ended up scoring in that inning. And that was a huge difference in this game. If he strikes out as he should have, that pitch was a strike, this game ends differently. I really think it does. I don't think the Pirates come back and tie this in the 9th. And that's tough. You never want to blame a loss on one single call or on an umpire or anything like that. And I'm not doing that right now. I'm not saying that the Giants needed that call to win this game. They absolutely did not. They could have just, fielded that ground ball at shortstop, not walked another batter. They could have just made some damn plays in that 9th inning to get out of the jam, but they couldn't get it done. And it's rough when you don't have a Nick Ahmed on your roster, when he's still on the injured list, when you have guys that could be defensive replacements. Let's say they keep Luciano up at the big league level when Nick Ahmed comes back off that injured list. At least you'd have him on the bench to come in as a defensive replacement in a game like this, and then that never happens. There's a lot of things right now that from this game that just, it was right there for them, and they just couldn't get it done. A lot of different ways the Giants could have won this game, but one way to lose it, and they just decided to go down that path and lose 7-6 in Pittsburgh to the Pirates, who a team that the Giants really should be beating. They were 4 winners of 4 in a row coming into this one, could have made it 5 in a row, and that would have been really good for the Giants as they keep rolling. And you got a couple guys starting to come off the injured list as Patrick Bailey returned from the concussion list. You got Blake Snell scheduled to start tomorrow. Things all looked like they were pointing up in Giants land, and then this just stinker of a 9th inning, and the Giants just can't get it done late in this one. Giants fall 6-7 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we'll break down some more stuff from this one. Chapman and Thairo have been heating up. They both hit bombs today. We got to get into some Matt Chapman stuff on the other side. And Thairo Estrada, man, this guy might be the Giants MVP for the 2nd year in a row. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. More to get into from this loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates. On the other side, I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Are you struggling to close deals? B2B selling is tougher than ever, just like finding wins for the Giants. And that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and today, Giants 7-6 loss in Pittsburgh to the Pirates. The bullpen completely blew up there in the ninth inning, and they've been really good all month long until now. I mean, this bullpen dramatically improved, showing a lot of good signs. You got Sean Jelly pitching well. You got Ryan Walker pitching well. You got Tyler Rogers pitching well. Camilo Doval was pitching pretty well until today. Eric Miller, although he's been a little volatile, has been more good than bad. And for whatever reason, the Giants go to Luke Jackson in a leverage situation. And man, I did not like that choice. I just point blank did not like that decision. You got so many other arms down there that have been a lot better. Even Randy Rodriguez, who was up in the pen with Luke Jackson, kind of rather would have seen him in that inning. I mean, Rodriguez got the 100-mile-an-hour heat, and he's been used in a lot of long relief situations. But in all those situations, he's looked pretty good. I think he's earned himself an opportunity to show what he can do in a situation like that over someone like Luke Jackson, who has had issues all year. Very weird year for Luke Jackson, who the Giants have had really high hopes for since signing him. Injuries have kind of defined his time here, and this season is no different. He started the very first game of the season with a back injury, and then he hasn't looked right since. Did not look right today. Tough loss for the Giants. But there were some positive things. If you're looking for positives, Matt Chapman, man, he's really turned a corner. I mean, this Giants offense looks so much different when you have Chapman hitting. Now, if only Jorge Soler could hit too, but that's a different story. Matt Chapman, again, a multi-hit game, knocks one out of the park, has a double off the wall that he just roped up. What was it, like 112 miles an hour or something like that off the wall, 106 miles an hour, over 100 miles an hour. Matt Chapman seems like, just like Elliot Ramos, every time that these guys hit the ball, this thing comes off the bat at over 100 miles an hour. And this is what Giants fans were expecting from Matt Chapman. We've been talking about how he's been heating up recently. He's been, no matter when he hits the ball, no matter where he hits it hard. And his advanced metrics all season long have looked pretty good. I'm not the advanced metric guy. I'm sure that if you guys are listening to the Locked On Giants Daily Show, Ben does a lot more of this kind of stuff than I do. I'm not a math guy. I'm not that smart, man. So, but when you look at things like average exit velocity for Matt Chapman has been high all season. I mean, this guy is someone who just hits the ball hard. And I'm going to listen, as I say all the time, to Barry Bonds, the best baseball player of all time. And he, as he always said, hit the ball hard somewhere and good things will happen. By the way, I should mention, speaking of Barry Bonds, it was announced today that he was going to be inducted into the Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame. And thank God somebody in baseball knows what to do with a Hall of Fame, because Barry Bonds, if there's any kind of baseball Hall of Fame without Barry Bonds in it, how much of a Hall of Fame can it really be? I mean, so good for the Pittsburgh Pirates for putting him in his rightful spot in the Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame. Dude was already a Hall of Famer if he had just stayed a Pirate before he even had his Giants career. So with, and that's when all the extracurriculars, as we should say, started for him in San Francisco. And regardless of your opinion on the steroid era, you can't have a baseball Hall of Fame without the best player of all time, and it just doesn't. It's not legitimate in that at that point in my mind. It's just not. Anyways, the Giants, Matt Chapman hitting the ball hard, just like our guy Barry Bonds. Maybe not just like him. He's not going to hit 73 bombs in any season in his entire career. I don't think anyone else will. Maybe ever in baseball history. Chapman, though, did pick up another bomb today. I believe that was his 6th home run of the season. And he's been raking, man. I mean, this Giants offense, totally different when Matt Chapman is a guy who can produce like that, especially when you sandwich him in between guys like Thairo Estrada, Luis Matos, Elliot Ramos, Marco Luciano. I mean, all these guys have been hitting for the Giants. And once you get Pat Bailey back, that's another bat that's been pretty good this season. And Michael Conforto, who did travel with the Giants today to Pittsburgh, he is with the team on this road trip. Very good sign that Conforto should be back soon as well. If you have all these guys coming back, you all of a sudden have like 6-7 guys in this order who are good at the plate and kind of hot right now. And that's really good for your team. I know that I've gone in on Jorge Soler all season long, man. And this guy did have a couple okay at bats. I'm going to say competitive at bats in this one where he worked the count full, hit balls deep into the yard. But he's, again, one one time on base today. He drew a walk, golden sombrero at the plate, 3 strikeouts, did score a run on that walk, but his batting average down to 204 this season. This guy's barely hovering above 200 batting average. That is not what they signed him to do. This guy's not an average hitter anyways, but so many times this guy comes up with runners in scoring position, runner at third base with less than 2 outs. That should score every single time Jorge Soler is at the plate. I mean, or at least like 60% of the time, 50% of the time. We aren't anywhere close to that. I don't want to see this guy in the top of the order. I really don't. And I know I saw someone in the comments the other day mention that Jorge Soler hit leadoff for the Braves during their World Series run. I really don't care, man. That is not the same Jorge Soler that we are seeing now. That's a completely different player. This guy cannot see the ball at all right now. He had an at-bat that he ended up striking out. He swung at 2 pitches that were like a foot plus outside of the zone, maybe not that far, but one of them was at least a foot outside of the zone. The other one was like up by his eyes, and he swung at it. He just can't see the ball right now out of pitcher's hands. I think it's very detrimental to leave this guy as your leadoff hitter, especially when you have Thairo Estrada, who could be a great leadoff hitter, Lamont Wade Jr., who didn't play today, but could also slide into that leadoff spot. You have so many guys on this team that could fill in there, and I just don't know why it's Jorge Soler, who doesn't run well, who doesn't put the ball in play, strikes out a lot. Like, you don't want your leadoff hitter to be leading like one of the worst strikeout guys in your lineup. It doesn't make any sense to me. I get there are other teams around the league, like the Phillies, who use Schwarber at the leadoff spot. He strikes out a ton, but hits a ton of bombs. But guess what? Schwarber actually hits bombs. Soler not doing that at all. I mean, he's not even having competitive at-bats most of the time. He did have a few tonight, but it just looks like a roll of the dice every time he's up there. Matt Chapman turned things around recently. Maybe Jorge Soler can get with Chappie and figure it out. Pat Burrell and the Giants pitching or hitting coaches need to figure it out. This needs to be a high priority for the Giants to get Jorge Soler hitting again, because I mean, I don't know how you got to leave this guy in the lineup based on 1, injuries right now, and 2, you keep expecting that he's going to turn it around eventually. Like, you think he has to be better than this. Maybe he's not, man. Maybe he just is falling off the cliff. And this, I mean, sometimes guys' careers kind of fall off like that. And maybe we're seeing the end for Soler right now. I really hope not, man. I'm not going to go ahead and say that is what we are seeing, but it is a possibility. I'm not saying definitively that's what's going on, but he looks lost up there, man. Some of these swings and misses are just atrocious. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe he needs to go get some vision correction or something. I don't know what's going on with Jorge Soler, but this Giants offense does look a lot different with Matos, Flores hitting well, Luciano hitting well, Ramos. I mean, competitive at bats every time he's up. Wilmer Flores just seems to be like the one odd man out. And man, that would be so good if either he or Soler could figure out how to hit, because those are usually the 2 guys who are trading off a DH for the Giants lately. And obviously Lamont Wade Jr. has been very good for the Giants as well at the plate. You got a lot of guys who are starting to hit. You need to figure out how to construct this lineup to put runners on base in front of guys who are going to drive them in. Luis Matos has been on a tear. I don't need to tell you guys that. On the other side, we got to talk a little bit about what he's been doing. He did contribute another hit in this one as well, scored a run and did draw a walk. So he on base again twice in this game. His batting average up to 324, and he was recognized for playing, I mean, so great over this last week. And you know, Matos, I think, should be here to stay. Thought he had a very legitimate chance at earning the job out of camp, and Major League Baseball recognized him for his efforts. We'll explain more on the other side as we break down some more of this Giants 7-6 loss in Pittsburgh to the Buccos. The Pirates 23-26 on the season. The Giants 23-26 on the season after the loss. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We will be right back. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. More to break down from this one on the other side. Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, and LeBron James all in the same entry. Well, that is if LeBron James hadn't already been bounced from the NBA playoffs. And now the guy who bounced him, Nikola Jokic, out to Ant Edwards, just going nuts in this NBA postseason. I'd recommend hitting some overs with Ant Edwards. Anyways, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. It's PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. The Giants fall 7-6 after a disastrous ninth inning. 2 walks, a Luciano error fueled that 4-run ninth for the Pirates. And it didn't look good for the Giants in this one at the end of the game after really cruising through this one for the first 8.5 innings. It looked like they were going to just waltz on into to their 5th win in a row. Would have been it adding on to this already season high 4-game win streak, which is kind of sad that the Giants season high 4-game win streak. They have 1 sweep on the year. It's the only time this season that they've been able to string together more than 2 wins at a time. You want to see the Giants continue to ride this momentum, stay hot as they're on the road, beat up on the Pirates before they have to come back home and play some tougher teams like the Phillies. They also face the Mets on this road trip. It's going to be a little bit, of a tough task going into New York and beating a team like the Mets. There's a lot of history with the Giants in New York, obviously, so more added pressure in that trip, but they got to get through 2 more games against the Pirates first. They're probably going to see Skeens in this time as well, and that guy just looks like rookie Steven Strasburg, just mowing fools down at the plate. But the Giants have their own young stars, and Luis Matos was recognized as the National League Player of the Week for his performance last week in 15 RBIs, 16 RBIs. This guy's just been on a tear since he came up. First Giants player to win the award since Brandon Belt did it in 2018. Shout out Brandon Belt. I mean, Giants fans, that's a weird guy to be controversial about, or to have, a fan base have controversial mixed opinions about. Brandon Belt was a phenomenal Giant, great glove. At a bare minimum, he was one of the best defensive first basemen that they've ever had. And it's really tough to follow a guy like JT Snow, who is also one of the best defensive first basemen the Giants ever had. And that dude could hit, man. I mean, JT Snow was a slugger for the Giants. Brandon Belt never turned into that slugger that people thought they could be, and they just ripped him all season long for it. I like Brandon Belt. He was a fun Giant, forever Giant. Shout out Brandon Belt. And anyways, the Matos NL Player of the Week last week. Aaron Judge was the AL Player of the Week. So when you have Matos hitting at the same level and receiving awards at the same type as a guy like Aaron Judge, that's a pretty good guy you got there in the bigs. I think that he needs to stay up with the Giants regardless of what happens going forward. He and Ramos both, I think, have done enough to stay with the club. Luciano, I think, needs to show a little bit more. He needs to show he can play some defense at the big league level before the Giants can keep him on this roster going forward. I mean, I think he needs more playing time, more reps in the field. I think he's going to get those in AAA. I think that's where Luciano will end up being. One guy who's not going to go back down to AAA after his 10 strikeouts in his start that he had down there is Blake Snell, who is scheduled to start tomorrow for the Giants. I am very excited about this because the Blake Snell we saw at the beginning of the season is not the Blake Snell we're going to see now. This guy was touched up a lot, ERA like over 12 to start the year, but he didn't have a spring training. And for pitchers, that's a big deal. Pitchers are usually the guys to adjust latest in baseball. Every year we see hitting kind of jump out of the gate as a whole in Major League Baseball. It didn't seem to work that way for the Giants this year, but as a whole in general for Major League Baseball, hitting comes first, pitching catches up usually around this time of the year. So if Blake Snell can be even remotely close to what he was last year, the Giants are going to get better. Their starting pitching can use a lift because Keaton Winn still on the injured list. They're going to have to go through a couple starts without him in the rotation. You need Blake Snell to kind of pitch well and show what he can do. And hopefully he'll do that tomorrow for the Giants. And again, as I said, this is the first time that the Giants have lost a game when scoring 5 or more runs, 14-1 when they score 5 or more runs. And I think if you give Blake Snell 5 runs tomorrow, you're going to get a Giants win. I really do. This guy, I think, is on a mission to show that this wasn't a mistake bringing him in. I mean, he's got his guy, Bob Melvin, managing the team. I think Blake Snell is going to be fine. I know that he did not look good in the beginning of this season, but that's going to be a reinforcement that the Giants desperately need. You also got Pat Bailey coming off the concussion IL. We saw him getting at bat today. I expect him to start the final 2 games of this series since Casale started this first one. Pat Bailey should be good to go. His bat is needed in the lineup. And I mean, Kurt Casale isn't as big of a drop-off defensively from Bailey as a guy like Blake Sabol was, but important for Bailey to get back behind the dish too, as everybody on this staff loves pitching to him. He makes this entire Giants pitching staff better. Conforto, as I mentioned, did travel with the team on this road trip. That's a solid sign as well. So reinforcements are coming for the Giants. And if these young guys keep hitting well, that's a good sign. Is a little disappointing that the bullpen had the rough outing tonight. More than a little disappointing, very disappointing that they weren't able to get this one done and pick up this win. And they had a really strong series against the Rockies. They gave up just 2 runs on 10 hits in 14 innings pitched across that entire 3-game set. They gave up twice as many runs in this 1 inning, in that 9th inning, as they did over that entire 3-game set against the Rockies. Didn't help that Luciano's defense was suspect at best in this one. In the 9th inning, it just dropped that surefire double play. And I think he needs more time in AAA, and I think that is evidence of that. The Giants are going to need to put the wheels back on. They need to win these last 2 games in Pittsburgh, man. You got to keep rolling. You can't let the Pirates kill your momentum, man. This team was starting to heat up at the right time. Losses to the Pirates aren't what you need when you're trying to heat up and put the wheels back on after a very shaky start to the season. All these injuries, the Giants just not playing up to par. The free agents not doing what they were expected to do when they were brought in. Pitching has been pretty good, but starting pitching's fallen off a little bit since the start of May. And it's been a tough rebound for the Giants because their hitting hasn't been there either. Tomorrow, Blake Snell, get him some run support in his first start back from the IL, and I think you will get a Giants win. That's about all the time that we got for you in this one. The Giants, again, fall 7-6 to the Pittsburgh Pirates at PNC Park, which is just a beautiful place to go see a game. That is like one of the top parks on my list of yards I really want to go see. I mean, hopefully within the next couple seasons. I've been trying to see at least 1 new yard per season for a few years now, and PNC is very high up on that list. But I just need to find another reason to go to Pittsburgh. I mean, what other reason is there to go there? Anyways, Giants going to be there for the next 2 days, so hopefully they find some things to do around PNC Park. Maybe visit the Roberto Clemente Museum, who I heard Flem talking about on the broadcast today. That's all the time we got for you guys. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast tomorrow as we come to you live from my apartment after the Giants and Pirates wrap up their game tomorrow night. I am Eric Tripoli Engel. Thanks for joining us in this one. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.